Microsoft stock is on a huge run right now. If you take a look at the Microsoft stock prices, it's close to around $460. And just a few months ago, it was around 360. Now, what has changed really within the last 2 months or so? Because Microsoft reported earnings and the stock actually went down. And that was the most interesting part because their earnings was very, very good in my opinion. When they increased revenue by 17%, when Azure growth is increasing by 39%. I was very happy with their earnings. But one thing, in my opinion, that really brought them down was this narrative about SaaS apocalypse, right? These any SaaS company that was out there, they were getting destroyed. Well, one business model of Microsoft is a SaaS model. The Microsoft 365 bundle that they sell, that is a SaaS model that they sell per seating. But what has changed recently is that there was a couple of SaaS companies that reported earnings, and some of them reported really great numbers. You take a look at Snowflake, you take a look at Datadogs. The one that really surprised me was Workday, because Workday, I was expecting them to have be struggling in their earnings because of all the layoffs that's happening, and Workday charges the business model per seating, per employee. So when that was a surprise earnings beat, this was a big momentum for Microsoft because if these SaaS companies are doing well, that means that they're going to be utilizing more data, they're going to be utilizing more cloud services. And if they're using more cloud services, well, hello there, Microsoft Azure. That is a huge win. And that was my initial thesis on it. I did not think that AI was going to essentially destroy Microsoft. It was really hard to get rid of Microsoft products. I just don't think that a business can go ahead and remove Microsoft from its enterprise suite. And that was one of the main reasons why I kept on adding more and more Microsoft into my portfolio the past couple of months. And now it's finally paying off, mainly because this narrative of SaaS apocalypse being, being destroying all these service companies, that is being overrated because the data is showing that not all SaaS is getting destroyed. There are certain SaaS companies, the Intuits of the world, the Duolingos of the world, the Zoom of the world, who is getting impacted. But the overall SaaS, there's going to be winners and losers, and Microsoft is set to be a big winner here. Now, one of the main reasons why I really like the Microsoft business model and why I continue to be so bullish on the stock is because Microsoft is a huge winner in bundling. And I really like this bundling model that they have. For example, when you take a look into Teams, right, why Microsoft Teams was able to go into so many more corporations than Slack was because Microsoft Teams was included in the Office 365 bundle. And what ended up happening is that after some time, the overall bundle charge goes up. So the overall price of the bundle goes higher, and it gives customers this feeling of, hey, it's worth it, right? You're getting all of this. Although, yes, the price has increased, the overall value you're getting out is more. And same idea that I believe is going to happen with Copilot, where Copilot may not be as good as Anthropic. I will be one of the first people to go ahead and admit that. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that every single employee needs Anthropic. Sometimes certain employees, certain fields of work, they're okay with Copilot. You guys, not everybody is a software developer. Not everybody needs to utilize Anthropic. Sometimes Copilot is good. And because Copilot is going to be, in my honest thoughts, is going to be included in the bundle. And when you, after some time, you go ahead and increase the overall cost of the bundle. This type of bundling business model, I really enjoy it because the customer still feels like they're getting a good deal because the whole overall product becomes better and better over time. But the price increases are not that substantial. That is one thesis of my Microsoft play. The other thesis of why I believe in the company so much is because of the Azure growth. I believe that we're going to be utilizing so much of these tokens, so many of these AI tools, that you have to have a bunch of AI data centers out there. And I believe Microsoft's going to be one of the big beneficiaries out there. There's currently right now three main ones that I can think of. There's Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Google Cloud. When I see Microsoft Azure growing close to 40%, that is pretty darn crazy. That type of growth, and what's crazy is that the company PE ratio that it trades at is around a 26 PE ratio. Like, you're telling me a company that's growing so fast, revenue is growing by around 17% or 18%, Azure is growing by massive amounts, yet the valuation that they trade at is less than the S&P 500. That is incredibly mind-blowing to me. It's one of the reasons why I continue to buy into the stock. Now, I own about, in my portfolio, 40% of my portfolio consists of Microsoft. Right, it's a very, very heavy position into this company. I started my position early in 2019, where I saw the play of data center, and what's crazy is that this data center build out that Microsoft is having, it continues to have more and more demand, because as we utilize more computerized digital products in the future, this demand for data centers continues to go higher, and also it continues to grow the business for overall of Microsoft. Microsoft stock has really liked the Mag 7 when it comes to performance, but I think now that the narrative of SaaS apocalypse being overrated, and I do believe the SaaS apocalypse narrative is overrated. I think it's an opportunity to Microsoft to really take center stage, because this during this whole time when Anthropic was releasing their big models, Google was in the spotlight, Microsoft was pretty quiet. There wasn't really big news that's coming out of Microsoft. And the nice thing is that when you're not the number one player in AI, you can learn a lot from the number one players. You can learn a lot from AI models that's above of you. And all this distribution model that Microsoft has, all these existing business customers they have, that's going to be a huge, huge advantage for Microsoft, because we talk a lot about how Google has this huge distribution channel that they have for all its consumers, but we don't really talk too much about Microsoft's distribution channel. It may not be on the consumer side, but it for sure is on the business side with all the business clients they have signed up already. And the nice thing about selling in business is that it's a lot easier to sell a second product to a customer than trying to sell a brand new client of their very first product.